If you wake up in the middle of the night because your feet feel like someone's holding a blowtorch to them, if your hands tingle so intensely you start dropping things without meaning to, or if you've got this strange numbness that's slowly creeping up your legs, then what I'm about to share could change everything. I'm Dr. Matthew Brooks, and in my 23 years treating patients with nerve conditions, I've seen something that honestly frustrates me. Deeply frustrates me. By the end of this video, and we're talking the next 15 minutes or so, you'll understand why your nerve symptoms might have nothing to do with diabetes or simply getting older, why a common medication combination is quietly destroying nerve tissue right now, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it before the damage becomes permanent. Let me ask you something. Have you felt tingling, burning, or numbness in your feet or hands? And did anyone ever explain that this could be connected to something as basic as how your digestive system is functioning? Because here's what I see in my practice every single week. People are told their nerve pain is inevitable, that it's just aging, that they simply need to manage it with more medications, and nobody is looking at the real reason nerve cells are starving to death. Let me start by telling you about a patient who walked into my office about 8 months ago. I had a patient, let's call him Raymond. Raymond was 58 years old, worked as an electrician his whole life, and spent weekends woodworking in his garage. Now, here's what was happening to him. His feet would go completely numb while he worked. So numb he'd look down and not even realize he'd dropped a tool on his toe. Then at night, that numbness would turn into an intense burning sensation that kept him awake for hours. And get this, his hands started trembling so badly he couldn't keep a screwdriver steady anymore. Raymond had tried everything. He bought different work boots, thinking maybe it was circulation. He soaked his feet in Epsom salt baths every night. He even started taking gabapentin that his doctor prescribed. Nothing worked. And you know what? Everyone was treating his symptoms, but nobody was asking why this was happening to a man who didn't even have diabetes. When we finally ran the right tests, and this is where it gets interesting, we found Raymond's body was essentially running on empty when it came to one specific nutrient his nerves desperately needed. But here's what nobody had explained to Raymond: how his daily medications were creating a perfect storm in his gut, blocking his ability to absorb the very nutrients that keep nerve cells alive. So to understand why this happens, you need to know something basic about your nervous system. Most people think nerves are like simple on-off switches, but here's the truth. They're more like a massive fiber optic network spread through your entire body, transmitting millions of signals every single second. Let me break it down. You have roughly 7 trillion nerves in your body. That's trillion with a T. And every one of those nerves is wrapped in a protective coating called myelin. Think of it like insulation around a copper wire. Here's what happens inside you. First, nerve cells require constant energy and maintenance. They're some of the most metabolically active cells you have. Then, that protective myelin sheath has to be continually repaired and rebuilt because it naturally breaks down over time. Over time, and we're talking months or even years, if your body doesn't have the raw materials to maintain this system, that insulation begins to crumble. And eventually you get exposed nerve endings firing random signals that your brain reads as burning, stabbing, or electrical shocks. Or the opposite happens. The nerve stops signaling at all and you feel numbness. Now, most doctors will tell you to control blood sugar or take medication for pain. And look, that's not wrong, but it's incomplete. What's missing is the nutrition side of the equation. You know what the real issue is? It's not that your body suddenly decided to attack itself. The real issue is your nerve cells are being systematically deprived of the specific nutrients they need to maintain themselves. And modern medicine often makes it worse without anyone realizing it. See, your gut is where nutrient absorption happens. And when certain medications interfere with your stomach's ability to break down food properly, or when they directly block absorption in your intestines, you can eat a perfect diet and still end up deficient. This is what I call the hidden hunger problem. Your nerves are screaming for fuel, but that fuel never makes it into your bloodstream. And here's the kicker. The symptoms don't appear immediately. Your body has reserves. It can compensate for a while. So by the time you feel that first tingle or burning sensation, you may have been running low for months or even years. That delay is dangerous because nerve damage can reach a point where it becomes permanent. So what's actually destroying nerve tissue? It's not aging. It's not bad genetics. And honestly, this surprises most of my patients. The real culprit is a specific nutritional deficiency triggered by incredibly common medications and lifestyle factors. And here's what shocks people when I tell them. You don't need diabetes or any major disease for this damage to occur. You only need to be taking medications that disrupt digestion while eating a diet that's already borderline insufficient. Let me show you how it works. Your stomach makes acid not only to digest food, but specifically to release vitamin B12 from the proteins it's bound to. Without enough stomach acid, you can't separate B12 from your meals. Then, even if you do release it, you need something called intrinsic factor to absorb it. Certain medications disrupt this entire process. Meanwhile, B12 is the master nutrient for nerve health. It's essential for two things: maintaining the myelin coating I mentioned earlier and producing energy inside each nerve cell. When you don't have enough B12, your nerves literally can't repair themselves. And without adequate energy production, toxic byproducts begin accumulating inside nerve cells, damaging them from the inside out. What makes this especially dangerous, and this is something I wish more doctors talked about, is how common the medication combinations are that create this problem. I see this pattern constantly. Someone is taking an acid reflux medication, something like omeprazole or esomeprazole. These are among the most prescribed drugs in America. They work by lowering stomach acid. At the same time, maybe they're taking metformin for prediabetes or diabetes. Metformin interferes with B12 absorption in the small intestine, or they're on a proton pump inhibitor for GERD. Plus, they're over 60, which means stomach acid naturally declines with age anyway. Each factor alone might not be enough to cause problems. But combine them, and you create a scenario where B12 simply can't get into your system in adequate amounts, no matter how much salmon or eggs or meat you eat. And your nerves slowly die from starvation while you take your medications faithfully, thinking you're doing everything right. So, where is this nutritional trap hiding in daily life? Let me show you the places most people never suspect. Number 1. Heartburn and reflux medications. This is a big one. Proton pump inhibitors, drugs like Prilosec, Nexium, Prevacid, are designed to reduce stomach acid. Here's what that means. Less stomach acid means less ability to break apart the protein B12 complexes in food. Your body can't separate B12 from your steak or eggs. Most people have no idea that taking these drugs daily for months or years creates a progressive deficiency that builds silently. Number 2. Metformin and other diabetes medications. Look, I understand metformin is considered safe, but here's the issue. It directly interferes with B12 absorption in your small intestine. Studies show up to 30% of long-term metformin users develop B12 deficiency. That's almost 1 out of 3 people. Number 3, the aging stomach. After age 50, your stomach naturally produces less acid and less intrinsic factor, that binding protein that helps absorb B12. This isn't a disease, it's physiology, but it means the older you get, the more vulnerable you are to anything that reduces absorption even further. Number 4, plant-heavy or vegetarian diets. B12 exists in meaningful amounts only in animal foods. Plants don't make it. Period. If you're eating plant-based without supplementing, even a flexitarian diet where you only eat meat occasionally, you're at real risk. The scary part is, most people have 2 or 3 of these factors at the same time. This reminds me of another patient, Dorothy. Dorothy was 71 years old, a retired teacher, and loved gardening. Her burning foot pain got so severe that she stopped wearing shoes inside the house because even light pressure felt unbearable. Now, when we tested her B12 levels along with methylmalonic acid, a more sensitive marker that shows what's happening inside cells, we found something surprising. Her standard B12 blood test showed 280, low but not alarming by conventional standards. But her methylmalonic acid was through the roof. That told us that at the cellular level, she was severely deficient. And you know what the crazy part was? It wasn't age alone causing it. It was the omeprazole she'd taken twice a day for 8 years, plus the fact she'd gone mostly vegetarian after her husband's heart attack. She was trying to be healthy. She was doing what she thought was right, but nobody connected the dots. Once we started B12 injections, methylcobalamin, the active form, 1,000 micrograms twice a week. Within 5 weeks, Dorothy's burning dropped about 60%. Within 3 months, she was back in her garden, wearing normal shoes, sleeping through the night. Dorothy told me, "I thought this was just something I had to live with." I thought my doctor would have mentioned it if there was something this simple that could help. Why didn't anyone test earlier? That's the difference between treating symptoms with pain medication and actually correcting the root nutritional deficiency. It's not about masking the problem. It's about giving your body what it needs to repair itself. Now look, I need to be honest with you. Nerve damage doesn't reverse overnight. If you've had progressive numbness or pain for years, it takes time for your body to rebuild myelin and restore nerve function. We're talking months, not days. But, and this is important, your nervous system has a remarkable ability to heal when you remove obstacles and provide the right raw materials. I've seen people regain sensation they believed was gone forever. I've watched patients eliminate burning pain they were told was permanent. So what works? What can you control? And what exact steps will protect nerve health? Starting this week, here's the most important principle I teach, and most people have never heard it. Your nerve health depends on absorption, not just consumption. Not how much B12 you eat, not even how much you supplement, but how much your body actually absorbs and uses at the cellular level. Because you can eat liver every day, the richest natural source of B12, and still be deficient if your gut can't extract it. You can swallow oral B12 supplements until you're blue in the face. But if medications are blocking absorption, you're wasting money. This principle explains why some people develop severe neuropathy while others don't, even with similar diets and ages. It's not always what you take. It's whether it reaches your bloodstream. You need to focus on three things. First, improving digestive function so nutrients can be absorbed properly. Second, using forms of B12 that bypass problematic absorption routes. Third, making sure you have enough cofactors that help B12 actually work inside cells. Miss any one of these and you leave healing on the table. Let me give you the action steps. Here's what you need to do. Step 1. Get the right testing. Don't accept a standard B12 blood test and stop there. Serum B12 tells you what's floating in blood, not what's getting into cells where the work happens. Ask for the full picture. Serum B12, methylmalonic acid, and homocysteine. If your B12 is under 450, or if MMA or homocysteine are high, you need intervention no matter what the lab says is normal. Step 2. Choose absorption-friendly B12 forms. The form matters. Many cheap supplements use cyanocobalamin, a synthetic form your body has to convert. What you want is methylcobalamin or hydroxycobalamin. These are bioactive forms your body can use immediately. Step 3. Bypass absorption problems. If your gut is compromised, work around it. Your main options are sublingual tablets that dissolve under the tongue, intranasal sprays, or intramuscular injections. For mild deficiency, sublingual at 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms daily often works well. For moderate to severe nerve symptoms, I frequently recommend injections, 1,000 micrograms of methylcobalamin twice a week for the first month, then weekly for maintenance. Step 4. Support B12 with cofactors. Your nervous system needs the B12 support team. Folate as methylfolate, 400 to 800 micrograms, B6 as P5P, 25 to 50 milliliters, and magnesium glycinate, 300 to 400 milligrams. Think of B12 as the lead actor, but it needs the supporting cast to carry the performance. Now, before you implement these steps, there are important warnings. First, if you have kidney disease, high-dose B12 needs to be monitored by your doctor. Don't assume natural automatically means safe for everyone at any dose. Second, if you begin B12 after a long deficiency, you might feel worse briefly before you feel better. That's a refeeding response as your body starts producing new blood cells and repairing tissue. It's normal, but it can be scary if you aren't expecting it. Never stop prescribed medications without your doctor's guidance. Always tell your healthcare provider what supplements you're taking. Work with a provider who understands functional nutrition, not only symptom management. Let me share one more story because it shows what's possible. I had a patient. We'll call her Gloria. Gloria was 68 when she came to see me. She had been a ballroom dancer for 40 years, taught lessons, competed regionally. It was her identity and her joy. Her life became defined by what she lost. She couldn't dance because the burning in her feet was excruciating and the numbness made her stumble. She was afraid to go out socially because she'd fallen at a wedding and felt humiliated. Every doctor told her, at your age, some nerve damage is expected. We can manage pain, but the numbness is probably permanent. But when we corrected her severe B12 deficiency, caused by years of untreated pernicious anemia that nobody had tested for, something shifted. Now it didn't happen overnight. It took 4 months of weekly B12 injections plus the full cofactor protocol. But slowly the burning eased first, then sensation started returning to her toes, and eventually she could stand on one foot without wobbling. Gloria told me recently, with tears in her eyes, "I danced at my granddaughter's wedding last month. Just a slow waltz, nothing fancy, but I danced. I never thought I'd do that again. I thought that part of my life was over." And that's what this is really about. Not just lowering symptoms on a pain scale, but reclaiming the activities and experiences that make life worth living. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm making this video. Look, this isn't just about tingling or burning feet. It's bigger than that. It's about walking without fear of falling, feeling your grandchild's hand in yours, staying independent in your own home as you age. Here's what I've seen happen. When nerve damage progresses, balance becomes unstable, which leads to falls. Falls lead to broken hips or wrists, which eventually causes loss of mobility and independence. I've watched too many older adults lose the ability to live on their own. Not because nerve damage can't be helped, but because nobody addressed it when it was early and reversible. The window for nerve regeneration shrinks the longer you wait. Your nerves can heal, but there's a point of no return where damage becomes permanent, and you're left managing symptoms instead of correcting the cause. That's why noticing early warning signs matters. That first tingling isn't nothing. That occasional numbness isn't just age. Those are distress signals your nerves send while they still can. Here's what I want you to do over the next 30 days. 1. Get your B12, methylmalonic acid, and homocysteine tested. Not B12 alone, all three. 2. Start a high-quality sublingual methylcobalamin supplement, 1,000 micrograms daily, even before results come back. 3. Add one B12-rich food to your breakfast every day. Eggs, Greek yogurt, wild salmon. Something with at least 2 micrograms of naturally occurring B12. 4. Make a list of every medication you take and research which ones reduce B12 absorption. Bring that list to your next doctor visit so you can have an informed discussion. Most patients notice less burning, better sleep, and improved balance within the first month. The goal isn't overnight perfection. The goal is measurable improvement that confirms you're moving in the right direction. Even a 20% symptom reduction tells you your nerves are finally getting what they need and beginning to repair. Let me wrap this up with straight talk. If someone promises you'll be completely cured in 2 weeks with one magic supplement, run the other way. Nerve healing doesn't work like that. But if someone tells you nerve damage is always permanent and nothing can be done, they're wrong too. Here's the truth. Nerve damage builds over months or years as deficiencies accumulate and injury compounds. So yes, reversing it takes consistent action over months, not days. But here's what matters most. Your nervous system can heal when you remove the obstacles and provide the right raw materials. I've seen it happen hundreds of times. Results vary by person, but the principle stays the same. The difference between progressive disability and meaningful recovery often comes down to timing and informed action. If what I shared today helped you understand nerve health more clearly, do me a favor. Leave a comment below and tell me. Tell me what hit home. Tell me what questions you still have. And if you found this valuable, share it with someone who needs it. Someone dealing with nerve symptoms and feeling hopeless. This information could genuinely change their life. Remember that burning or tingling you feel isn't your body giving up. It's your body sending you a message that something needs to change while there's still time to fix it. I'm Dr. Matthew Brooks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.